My name is John Vandemoer. I am the head coach of the Stanford University sailing team. I'm also the executive director of the Club 420 class.
So you have worked with a lot of young sailors over the years, from their teenage years into the highest level of college sailing. What advice can you give to, let's say, a 16-year-old who's getting into Club 420 sailing and wants to achieve great things in sailing? What are some of the best practices they can do, big picture stuff, to achieve that?
You know, I think to be successful in our sport, you have to really be a student of our sport. The best advice I ever heard was Kenny Reed came to the Neil Clinic in Chicago, a nice Club 420 clinic in Chicago in June, and he was a guest speaker there, and he talked about his process and how he became a great sailor. And got to race the Volvo Ocean Race and America's Cup and become an America's Cup commentator and everything else. And his best advice was to be able to keep asking the question, how and why? You know, how does something work? Why does something work? You know, challenge just the information that you're getting to really understand what it really means. And I think that's really important advice, whether you're sailing at the highest level of college sailing or Olympic sailing, or sailing, or just starting off in junior sailing, moving from an Opti or a Sabot or another boat to the Club 420. It's really important to really understand the boat and understand what coaches and clinic coaches and everything else are telling you, and really ask the questions and be involved in your learning. Don't let it be handed down to you. You have to learn it and you have to earn it all the time.
The Club 420 has been around in this country for quite a while. It's still the boat of choice in college sailing, along with the FJ. And many of our best sailors have gone through it, at least on the younger side. But it also, at the same time, takes a lot of criticism that it's not high performance enough, that it's not tunable enough, and that kids aren't getting the right kind of experience to prepare them for international level sailing. What do you say to those non-believers?
I think for the non-believers, they're looking at a field that's very narrow. First, let's be honest, what Olympic level or high-performance sailing is in this country. It's a very small percentage of sailing. The Club 420 fits a very important role in our country, both whether you want to sail for the rest of your life and enjoy a great sport of sailing, and also if you want to go down the development path to be an Olympic all-star, or to sail in the America's Cup, or sail in the Volvo Ocean Race. The Club 420 can do all from that. And I think what's really important is that sailors learn that it's part of a process, and that the Club 420 is an essential part of your process. What the Club 420 does is it slows down the game so you can understand it from two aspects, from boat handling and boat speed, and also from a tactical and strategy aspect. Both those areas are extremely important in the fundamentals of learning our sport, and can grow from boat to boat. And it can go, the fundamentals you learn from the Club 420 can relate to what you're going to do in a Moth, can relate to what you're going to do in a 470, 49er, and beyond. The purpose of the Club 420 is to provide great, fun sailing in very competitive regattas. And so what we've been able to do is provide boats like our regattas, like our Midwinter Championship that was just a few weeks ago, where we had 92 boats at the regatta. Some very high-end sailors, and a lot of sailors that have been sailing other boats besides the Club 420, but they knew that they were going to get great starting and great competition if they came into the Club 420 for midwinters, and they did. We had sailors that were at Youth Worlds in multi-hulls, they're in 29ers, they were sailing I-420s, all coming together to the Club 420 and sailing this one event, because we had 92 boats, because we were able to work on those fundamentals and slow the game down to learn the tactical setup, to be able to learn the basic boat handling of how to do a really good jibe with your kite, how to do wild thing, how to do a lot of other aspects of our boat handling that you can get lost in very easily in a high performance boat. So we really see the Club 420 as a stepping stone and as a place that builds in your education to move on to high performance sailing. Just like college sailing is. College sailing is not high performance sailing, it is not Olympic sailing, but it is an important and key step in order to develop your resume and to move forward to be in college sailing. Move forward to be in Olympic sailing and high performance sailing. You have to learn those fundamentals. You have to hit that stop first before you can really move on to further your career.
At Stanford, you work with some of the best sailors of that age group, the 18 to 22s. They come in with a great background in sailing. They already know a whole lot of skills. What do you provide here at Stanford to an incoming freshman who already wins national championships and is already a rock star in the junior circuit to get them to that next level?
I think what we provide is a lot of opportunity and a lot of collaboration. So we don't think of ourselves as coaches as different than the athletes. We are part of their education and we're part of the collaboration of their learning process. And it's the same thing with all the other players. When I'm looking at recruiting, I look to recruit players that have lots of different backgrounds, have lots of different information that they can bring in to college sailing. Whether it is they were sailing catamarans for their whole life, or they were windsurfing for their whole life, or they did the typical junior sailing thing through opties to Club 420s to, from Sabbats to CFJs to high school sailing. We really try to get a full gamut of players together in one room. And so then they have each other to really learn from. And we really ask them to think beyond what we think typical boat handling is or what the typical team race play is and everything else, and think outside the box and share and collaborate ideas so we don't limit ourselves to the competition around us. We limit ourselves only to how far we can push ourselves, how far we can push our team to make it to the new level. We always like to innovate. We always like to expand and think out of the box and really enjoy doing it. And I think that's what Stanford's all about: innovation, fun, collaboration, and true teamwork. And we supply that for all these players.
At Clever Pig, we talk a lot about sailing campaigns. That's what we are, and that's what we support. Tell me about some of the best sailing campaigns you've seen and what they've done right. And feel free, of course, to use your wife as an example.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy for me. My wife's campaign with Anna, Molly, and Debbie is the best campaign I've ever seen. Their match racing campaign for the London Games of 2012 was certainly, I think, the most successful you can point to. And I know in the end they didn't end up winning the gold medal or medaling. They ended up fifth, but they still won world championships and multiple world tour events and everything else. No one had a resume like those three ladies do. But it wasn't the resume that made their campaign really effective. It was their professional and fun approach to the sport of sailing. They were true pros pro. So they worked really hard in their sport. When they were focused on working on their sport and their campaign, they were focused on just that. When it was time for them to not focus on that and goof around and have fun, they goof around and have fun. They let themselves go, and they had a great time, and they enjoyed everything they did. They are still the closest of friends. They really enjoyed every moment, and I think what made the difference for them in their campaign is that they were really open and honest with each other. And those three, along with their coach Dave Dellenbaugh, did a fantastic job of not leaving anything unsaid, of really sharing what's going on and really growing their relationship and thinking of the relationship beyond skipper and crew, or skipper and crew and coach, but more of a collaboration of great minds coming together, great athletes coming together and trying to solve a problem, trying to achieve a goal. And I think that's very different than I see campaigns these days, that it's so focused on the sailing itself, when the sailing is actually a pretty small part of what the true relationship is, especially when you're sailing with, maybe it doesn't count as much for a laser campaign, but, more so in the double-handed or triple-handed campaigns, that, having this collaboration together is a really important aspect of it. I think that's what, college sailing makes a big difference on, is that you're so used to being part of a team and having this collaboration and working together is such a science and such an art form at the same time, that you really get used to that in a sport like college sailing. And it really helps you grow and learn how to work with each other and use each other's strengths and help each other grow each other's weaknesses into strengths. And that's also really important from that. Their campaign had one other aspect that I thought was really, really vital. And it's something my wife always harped on, and something that I live to this day, is that they never took anything for granted, and they had a blast doing everything they did. And if for 1 second they weren't having fun doing what they were doing, they stopped and they reminded themselves of what they were truly there for and what the whole point of everything was. Because if you get down to a point where you're just sailing and you can't talk to the person in front of your boat or the person behind you, it's just not worth it. It's not going to be a successful campaign. You're not going to win regattas. You're not going to win that Olympic gold medal. It's just not going to move forward until you solve that solution first. So sailing is all about relationships and dealing with relationships and making it grow and making it fun and enjoying the process of it all. And I think when you can focus on that, you can have truly a successful campaign. Does that guarantee you medals in the end? It doesn't, but it guarantees an experience that's going to make you a better sailor and most likely a better person in the end.